Hello everybody, I'm Alexey Krabrov, the organizer of SF Spark and SF Hadoop meetups, and here we are at Uber Engineering, and we have a joint meetup with SF Cassandra. So we actually were talking about various use cases of the SMAC stack, which is basically Spark, Cassandra, Akka, Kafka, and running on something like messes. So we actually had Spark and Cassandra connected today. The other talk we had was with Phil Gentry from Coffee Meet Bagels. And Phil is the Senior DevOps Engineer. Welcome, Phil.
Hey, good to be here.
So first of all, I want to ask you about this amazing company because I never heard about it. It sounds really exciting. Can you briefly outline what it does and why Cassandra is a good fit for it?
Yeah, so Coffee Meets Bagel, we're a dating app. We're only on mobile. So every day at noon, you get a certain number of matches, bagels is what we call them, that are curated from our system. You know, we've got some machine learning things, and we really spend a lot of time trying to get really good matches.
So both men and women can be bagels.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody's
a potential bagel.
Everybody's a bagel. Everybody's a bagel. So yeah, every day you log in and you get bagels, and then you get to look at them and choose whether you like them or not. If you're a female, the ones that are always at the top are the males that liked you. So we really try to make it so that the ladies really get the best experience. Like guys, you got to kind of put yourself out there first, but it's really good, particularly for ladies.
What is the geography of users?
I think we're definitely most popular here in the U.S. But we have, I don't actually deal with those numbers a lot, but I can tell you that we're international, and that you can be a bagel anywhere.
Interesting. And in terms of US, like you're in various places, not just in the area, but outside?
Everywhere, everywhere across the US.
Yeah. Cool. So it's kind of interesting. So you basically live a DevOps nightmare because you inflict DDoS on yourself every day at noon, right?
Pretty much, yes. It's a bit of a from a system standpoint, that's a lot like what it is, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
So I'm curious, right? Like, I mean, Cassandra is just one piece of it. Like, how do you handle this? Because it's a tough situation.
Sure. We have to pre-warm load balancers. Make sure those are ready to go. You can't just wait for Amazon to just kind of like go by demand, because by the time they respond, it's over.
Yes.
We have to just make sure everything's fast. We have to be very careful about any background processes or anything that might be running, and taking away system resources, of course. And we monitor closely what goes on and make sure that to make sure things are running well every day. So yeah.
So this reminds me of another company in our network called Guild, right? So Guild, they basically have this fashion. They basically sell fashion discount, and what they do, like I think at 9 a.m., they basically announce their sales. So they basically do the same DDoS on themselves. But I think what they did, they went to Amazon because they want to scale up and down, and they became super reactive, and every developer has his own Amazon account. So it kind of changed the whole nature of operation. So I wonder if this kind of mode of operation changes your whole company and how you do DevOps, and if everybody is aware, like this thing is coming, and like I need to be battle ready and so forth.
There's a little bit of that. There is a little bit of that, honestly. Like we are aware when noon is gonna come. It's not like there's a big like horn, we're in a red light that's like be at your desks at noon.
Yes.
But yeah, absolutely, we're aware of noontime, and we do watch it.
But is it noon? It's noon local time, right? So like
okay, so our biggest spike is gonna be here.
Okay.
Like it's gonna be West Coast.
Okay.
And then the other spikes, like if that one goes well, we can relax.
Got it.
A little bit.
Got it. Got it.
So yeah.
So Cassandra, right? Cassandra is new to our kind of meetup. It's the only letter from SMAC stack we didn't have it before, right? So like to us, it's a big deal. We don't know much about Cassandra. So can you kind of briefly outline how do you guys settle on Cassandra? What does it buy you? Why is it good for this kind of use case?
Okay, so I can tell you, I was not there when we chose Cassandra.
Okay.
It's something I got, but I think it has been actually pretty good for us. The things that make it nice are that it is the horizontal scalability of it. That's probably the biggest draw that I know of. just knowing, because we definitely push the limits of Postgres. We used to use Postgres. We used to use a database called Titan that did not work out for us well. And so Postgres, well, it's wrong for me to say we push the limits of Postgres. We push the limits of Postgres on AWS. And so we just kind of hit a point where we have to go on to something else.
So you used Postgres before and then switched to Cassandra?
We still use it for some of our stuff. If we require that kind of transactional workload, we still use Postgres. We're not 100% Cassandra.
Like maybe financials or something like this?
Yeah, honestly, you'd have to talk to one of our actual back-end engineers to get that. But yeah, we push as much into Cassandra, I can tell you that, as we can.
Okay. And you mentioned something like a lot of different issues, right? So again, I'm fairly new to Cassandra. This kind of context is new to us, and so I find it curious that you talked about a lot of issues, like repairing nodes. Is it the typical Cassandra kind of situation, right? Like
from the people I've spoke to, yes, as you grow and as you learn, because the thing about Cassandra is it's configurable, and I think the way that it gets configured changes a lot based on how exactly you're using it. Are you writing time series data? Do you have a heavy write load, read load? What's the complication of your data? And there's so many different factors that go into it and how you're actually using it that it gets configured in a lot of different ways, I think. And you do. I have seen that story a lot, talked to people, and also just in reading and studying. I've seen that story a lot where people have to kind of work out how they are going to use Cassandra once they start pushing it a little bit. When you first set it up, it's of course not that big of a deal, but when you start actually pushing the envelope a little bit.
So this is interesting because I used to use HBase, previous lives, and the problem with it was basically tuning. It was black magic, right? You could spend $50,000 on consultants trying to tune it for you, or you can find knowledgeable friends who will do it in one day, right? And at that point, again, it was about 3-4 years ago. The selling point for Cassandra was basically it's much easier, right? Like you don't need to do this, and somehow it's easier basically to tune. And what you describe sounds pretty much like this black magic process by which you guess crucial parameters which are specific to your use case, right? I'm curious if that feels like that, right? So
the comparison, I don't have direct experience with that, but the comparison that I've heard is that. Yeah, it's still kind of like that, but it's better with Cassandra.
But exactly, it's simpler. It's a gray magic.
Magic. It's a gray magic, maybe. Yeah, a little off-white magic, perhaps.
Interesting. So, basically, I'm curious because you mentioned you have this spike, right? So does the spike, does this behavior means that you need to do this node repairs? Does it somehow, is your specific use case, what kind of tuning, I would say, does it require?
For the most part, it's really just a matter of making sure we have the capacity. It's not tuning. At the stage that we're at, and with the growth pattern and the other things we've seen, it's not truly a tuning. A tuning would be like, oh well, if we go in and we tweak this memory setting or that memory setting, then we see, a lower latency spike or something like that. It's really just a matter of making sure that we're we're actually scaled up high enough every day to actually handle it. So at some point, I expect that we will do more on the tuning level. We just haven't got down to that part yet.
Got it. And so you guys run on Amazon.
Yes.
So how does this work for you? Is it basically? So you have VMs on Amazon, and then you have Cassandra on them. Do you sometimes wish you had basically bare metal instances?
Nope.
No.
Well, I guess maybe every once in a while, yes. In that we could maybe get some better performance out of them, but no, in that we would totally lose the flexibility that we have with Amazon to just say, we're just going to reinvent our whole setup.
Yes.
And move it over and just try it in this whole different configuration without adopting all the cost of that hardware.
Do you have your own dedicated instances there, or do you scale? Do you actually add nodes to Cassandra during the day, or do you have just fixed amount of nodes?
We don't auto scale. I hope we can someday, but right now it's still Manually, it doesn't take that much people time to add a Cassandra node, but it takes a while for that node to bring in and stream in its data. And the same thing when it goes out. And then there's the whole repair issue afterwards. So we're a long ways still, I think, from where we can actually have that go up and down with our traffic. That would be the dream. But right now, it's just, we're just looking at a fixed number of nodes.
And the instances themselves, are they dedicated or are they shared? Like, did you try different kinds of instances?
We are trying different kinds of instances right now. There's, we have a few reserved that are the larger instances. I believe those are dedicated. Don't quote me on that. Then we're trying right now some smaller, more medium-sized machines like M4 4XLs. And we're going to see, and those are on shared, and we're going to see how those perform. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, there's not a one-way question for that. I would imagine that at some point, because that's always a question on AWS. Like, yes, you can get a dedicated instance, and every once in a while, or you can have the shared. But every once in a while with the shared, you're going to have one that just doesn't act right, probably because somebody else is doing. And you just have to live with the fact that you might just have to sometime kill a node and just build a new one.
You might get a bad one.
Yeah.
Cool. So I would say, kind of, what's the most fun thing about working with Cassandra?
Oh man, the funnest thing about working with Cassandra is probably, really, I just like it.
It works, right?
It works, and it's just the idea of it's fun to me. That we have this huge cluster of nodes working together, and like that part I really like about it.
So what would be good to do, right? Like to catch up with you maybe in 6 months and see how you guys evolve, right? Because I think you start with this, your Cassandra journey. So let's sync up, in 6 months and see how it goes.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
All right.
It does. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.